She called the cops on me like she was ordering takeout, all casual confidence, like she really believed the universe ran on her say-so. I just tamped down the last bit of soil around a new fence post, sweat stinging my eyes, when I heard those flip-flops smacking across the gravellia. That sound, sharp and insistent, like a judge striding into court ready to hand down a sentence. Didn't even have to look up. I knew it was Karen. You know, the type marches like her shoes are gavels, acts like every neighbor dispute is a full-blown trial. She just planted herself there, puffed up, arms folded, with a wad of papers in her fist printouts, so wrinkled and highlighted you'd think they'd been blessed by a dozen Facebook law experts. Her sunglasses comically oversized weren't about the sun. Just another way to hide that look people get when their main hobby is policing everyone else's business. She didn't even say hello. "You can't build that fence," she snapped. "You're violating community ordinance. That post is on easement land." Her voice could have cut sheet metal. I lean on my shovel, try to keep my cool. "Karen, this is private land been in my family since before you moved in. No easement, and I'm 3 feet inside the property line. I've got the registered survey in my truck if you want proof." She jabbed at a blurry printout, some Google Earth shot from years ago, red squiggle traced in Microsoft Paint. "This is emergency fire access," she insisted. I squinted at the paper. There was my garden hose, dead center. "That's not a legal document." I told her, "That's a screenshot, and that fire zone is just a hose from 10 years back." But she doubled down, got in my face, finger poking air. "You think I'm kidding? I'm calling 911. You're trespassing and obstructing emergency access." Now, I could have explained again, but sometimes silence says more than words. She took a step back and dialed, putting on her best community watch voice, loud and dramatic. "Yes, I need an officer immediately. There's a man here, aggressive, threatening, wearing a cowboy hat, building an illegal fence. You get the picture." I just stood there, hat tipped low, shovel stuck in the dirt, refusing to give her the satisfaction of even blinking. She hung up, arms crossed, acting like she'd just bought herself a one-way ticket to instant justice. "They're on their way. You're in trouble." "Good," I said. I could use a break from digging. When the cruisers rolled in, sun high and air sticky, I knew the officers, Deputy Molly, Lieutenant Danvers, both straight shooters. They stepped out, scanned the scene. Karen was vibrating with anticipation. "That's him," she cried. "He needs to be arrested as building across community land." Molly gave her that look, all polite but bored. "Ma'am, you do realize this property belongs to Sheriff Cole Tucker?" You should have seen Karen's face, all the air leaving her like a balloon at a kid's party. No, that can't be. He's just some ranch guy." I tipped my hat. Ranch guy, fence fixer, sheriff, it's a long week. Danvers stepped up. "Ma'am, there's no easement, no fire access road, and no active HOA. We did the zoning last year. This is private. You made a false report." Karen tried to make a stand. "I don't care who he is. That fence is still illegal." But Molly turned to me. "You want to press charges?" I shook my head. "Let's call it a teachable moment." They left. Karen slunk back to her porch, ducked behind a potted plant, filming me on her phone like she was auditioning for Dateline. I finished my fence, listening to the breeze, the kind of peace you only get when you know you're right. But later that night, my trail cam caught her out there, pacing the border with a flashlight, phone in hand, inspecting my handiwork like she was plotting a prison break. Next morning, 2 Quietno flyers in mailboxes, no yelling across the street. But you know people like Karen, right? When it's quiet, that means they're planning something. So I checked the reports. Turns out Karen had been calling in complaints all over town. Noise, unauthorized gardening, rogue patio, furniture, 31 reports in 2 years. She even accused a neighbor of running a covert bakery. Targets were always newcomers or renters, anyone who dared challenge her imaginary authority. Here's the twist: there wasn't even an HOA. Hadn't been one in years. Karen was running a ghost operation, printing her own fines, citing bylaws she made up on her kitchen counter. I took every complaint, every fake letter, and laid it out with Deputy Molly. It was a timeline of madness: fake fines, backyard inspections, warnings for wind chimes, and kids' tire swings. She'd mailed official notices with threats of arrest. She'd crossed the line from annoying to dangerous. As the week rolled on, Karen delivered new fake notices this time, threatening to remove unauthorized structures and fine anyone with bird baths or garden trellises. She even tried to tell an elderly couple out for a walk they needed residency papers to pass her house. That was enough. I bundled everything: complaints, photos, fake tickets, and brought it to the county attorney. Harris took one look and said, "This isn't neighbor drama. This is impersonation, harassment, fraud." We started building a real case, and I sent a quiet word through the neighborhood: anyone with a story, now's the time. You wouldn't believe the responses: photos of torn-up flower beds, old voicemails, letters demanding payment for grass height violations. Karen had everyone living in fear of her fake HOA. But people were tired. Tired of tiptoeing around her paper-thin authority. That night, Karen tried one more power move: another emergency meeting in her backyard, folding chairs, snacks, the works. Only 3 people showed up, 2 were family. Someone filmed it and put it online, adding circus music. It went viral, but the town was over it. Then, just before midnight, my trail cam caught her again: flashlight, clipboard, tape measure, zip ties. I pulled up in my truck, shined a light right on her. She froze, mid-step. "I'm conducting an official compliance inspection." "Karen, there's no HOA. You're trespassing." She held up a laminated card, her face taped over a library logo, "By authority of the Greater Riverdale Preservation Committee." I nearly lost it laughing. Backup rolled up Molly and the crew. Karen tried to play sovereign citizen, muttering about municipal override law. Molly just cuffed her, "No fuss." "You're interfering with an act of neighbor justice," Karen sputtered. We documented every bit: the card, the zip ties, the midnight inspection checklist. At that point, even the paperwork felt like a sitcom. A few days of peace. The air felt lighter. No more flyers, no more shaky accusations, just the quiet hum of a town ready to breathe again. Folks started dropping off their own stories at the station: $1.45 grass fines, fake HOA approvals for barbecue grills, mailboxes repainted out of fear. It wasn't just petty. It was intimidation, and we had the evidence. The warrant came together: impersonating public authority, harassment, mail fraud, misuse of emergency services, trespassing. We weren't looking for showdown. We wanted it by the book. The morning we served it, Karen was live streaming on her porch, binder in hand, shouting about conspiracies and government plots to dissolve traditional neighborhood structures. Molly approached, calm as a pond. "Ma'am, please put the binder down and stand." Karen protested, waving sovereign citizen forms, but it was over. She went quietly, for once, protesting her innocence to the world as we read her rights. Back at the station, there were no high fives, just relief. At the market later, neighbors smiled. One handed me a jar of sweet tea. Another asked me to sign their posthole digger. We laughed, not about the fence, but about holding the line. Molly hung a photo in the break room: Karen. Fake badge held up. Someone scribbled, "Citizens arrest denied." Not to mock her, but to remind us sometimes authority just means holding steady, even when the noise is loud. Court came quick. Karen, ever dramatic, showed up in a beige suit, hair pinned back, representing herself, spouting off about jurisdictional erosion and submitting blog posts as legal evidence. The judge, old school and unamused, let her run through her routine, then got down to business. The prosecution brought out the mountain of evidence: 9/11 calls, videos, every neighbor's story of harassment dressed up as law. Witness after witness painted a picture clearer than any legal argument: garters bullied, kids' playhouses threatened, a woman knocked down over a dog leash, all because Karen believed her word was law. The jury was out less than an hour. Guilty. Probation, counseling, 200 hours community service, permanent ban on HOA activity. When the judge asked if she understood, Karen just nodded, no speeches left. That night, the town felt different, like someone finally opened the windows after a long, stale winter. People put wind chimes back up, kids chalked up the sidewalks, the fence stood just where I'd built it. It wasn't about the fence, never was it, was about lines that shouldn't be crossed, power that shouldn't be faked, and the quiet resilience of a community standing together. Weeks later, life had its rhythm back. Karen mostly disappeared, but sometimes growth comes in the smallest ways. A letter with neat handwriting. I won't say I was wrong, but I will say I didn't know what I was doing. I'm trying now. Thank you for not embarrassing me when you could have. I was never fighting you. I was scared of losing control. No name. Didn't need one. At the community cleanup, neighbors joked, swapped stories, repainted signs Karen once called visual hazards. A boy asked if I'd built the whole fence myself. I grinned, had some help, a stubborn post-hole digger, and a lot of coffee. It wasn't about the fence. It was about making sure nobody had to live under someone else's fantasy of control ever again. And sometimes, on my rounds, I'd see Karen quiet, head down, working her community service. No drama, no camera, just doing what needed to be done. Maybe that's justice. Maybe it's just the slow work of people figuring out how to live side by side. So here's the thing: power doesn't come from paper. It comes from patience, from neighbors who won't back down just because someone shouts. The fence is still standing, and so are we. Yeah, that happened. You got thoughts on right and wrong? On justice, or where the real lines in a community ought to be? Go ahead, let's hear it. This isn't just my story. It's all of ours now.